Season 2.
Yeah.
It feels weird talking about a season. It's like we have a real show.
We do.
We have a show. We have guests. We have people watching, people that want to learn.
What are you looking forward to in season 2 of the podcast?
You know, it's kind of cool, you know, just the natural progression of building RCN, doing the podcast, and, you know, initially going out and inviting people we knew onto the show and talking with them. And one thing that I like about the podcast is not only do we get to have conversations with people, and we get to educate the audience, but it also gives us an opportunity to highlight people that we know and like in the industry. And it's kind of a cool, you know, opportunity for people we bring on. Now, after doing a season 1, doing the conference, honestly, we've raised a lot of awareness. We're getting a lot of interest in what's being built. So, you know, we've got a lot of cool guests coming on this season. Something else that's going to be new, I know season 1 was kind of during COVID, so most of our episodes were virtual, but now we've built out our studio, and we are starting to line up people that are flying in, spending the day with us in our office, doing some brainstorming, meeting, collaboration stuff, and then recording our sessions in person in our studio instead of just virtual, which I'm excited about because, you know, we're investing in trying to have a quality show with quality people. We've got our gear, our cameras, our mics, and as much as the virtual is nice, and all of us have adopted virtual through the last couple years, you know, I can only do so many Zoom meetings. You know, I'd like to save that for business. When we sit down to really talk with people, in person is so different. And also, it's just a benefit to the guest as well and the listeners because we, you know, again, not pointing any fingers at certain episodes, but, you know, some of the audio and video quality doing virtual is rough just naturally because most people don't have a podcast set up. Yeah. So we're doing it through, you know, webcams and a microphone or a Bluetooth. And so I think just naturally we're trying to make sure that the experience that we're building in the conference, in the podcast is just – it's a good experience. So those are some of the things I'm looking forward to about this next season. And, man, the second conference, too, coming up.
Yeah.
So October 11 to 13 here in Boise, we're doing the second RCN conference. We're probably going to have to cut off attendees at about 400 people. That's going to be our max this year with the venue that we booked. And we're already almost full on vendor slots and speaker lineup. And I'm not going to say them yet, but I'm super excited about some of the companies that are getting involved that are going to be speaking and attending. So looking forward to that.
Okay, so this goes for both the podcast, season 2, and conference 2. What topics are you most looking forward to diving into?
So some of them we hit the first conference, and I think we're going to repeat a lot of them because they're still very relevant. You know, talking about the different types of technology, because again, there's a lot of people that are learning about reality capture or laser scanning or drones for the first time right now and tomorrow and the next week. First time they're hearing about it.
Yeah.
The first time they hear about it, they have no idea that 10 options exist and what are the pros and cons of the different options. So I guess part of the topic is going to be hardware and software options. And that goes for both discussing on the podcast with what people are using, et cetera, but also at the conference specifically, because those vendors will also be there. And then the third option we didn't really talk about yet is the education center on our website where we're still developing it and we're going to start generating more content and we're going to gather others in the community to help make content and start contributing to. But we want to make sure that people that are getting into reality capture understand the difference between the different options available, because some people get sold pretty hard on buying a certain type of equipment when it's really not the best one for what they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And then they end up doing a job and the data's not great. And then, you know, it burns the project, it burns the client gets a bad taste for reality capture. This has happened for years. Most people that have been in it a while know that, or have seen it, or have heard it from a client of, oh, we tried using, you know, XYZ technology in the past and it's not good enough for us. Well, no, it actually was just the wrong technology, or it was the workflow that was used, So the benefits that we see for the industry in us trying to educate on the options as well as make sure people are doing it properly is that it creates a better experience for everybody. The project goes better. The service provider wins because they did it right. The client is happy because their product is good and it's delivered on time and it's not over budget or bad quality, or it ends up helping everybody and really just expanding the industry. So I guess some of the topics, hardware, software, a couple big words that people keep throwing out that we will be talking about and getting into is also like digital twins, smart buildings, and then talking about the metaverse and virtual experiences. And, there's a big hype around that right now with different industries, more so than in ours, in the construction, architecture, engineering space. It's actually being pushed by bigger companies from other industries. But I'm excited to talk about that a bit more because I think we as an industry in the reality capture world actually are going to end up playing a big role in digitizing real world spaces for the use of a lot of those. So that'd be a few of them.
Yeah. Let's talk about computers.
Computers! Oh, I know. We just, we get bored over here. No, I'm just kidding. We're actually not bored. We're having a fun time. We're excited. We have a lot going on. And we just announced and launched RCN computers. We, very, very often get asked about what type of computers we use because people that also get into laser scanning, point clouds, drone, LiDAR processing, 3D modeling, virtual reality, they start to find out, okay, well, you have to do more than just buy the equipment. You have to upgrade your storage capacity, your processing on your computer. That's always been a problem because a lot of the companies that are getting into these technologies are engineering companies, design companies that are working on kind of typical CAD drafting computers, and they're not maxed out. They're pretty entry level. And when you really get in to start processing, hundreds of scans, thousands of scans, lots of scanning projects, you are going to really hurt yourself if you don't upgrade your computers. And there's a few. Obviously, there's a lot of computer companies out there. But as we were trying to figure out what systems we preferred or liked or wanted to go with, we ended up building our own, and we were getting better results for cheaper price. We decided to launch our own brands and kind of help consult companies in our community and in our industry based on what softwares they're using and what workflow they're doing and the volume of projects they're doing. We have a couple different builds that are meant for one versus the other, whether it's a low core, high speed or high core count or, and anyways, we can talk more technical about that later, but we are excited to announce it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
what do you see on the horizon that you think that not too many people are kind of foreseeing for reality capture?
A lot of people ask me similar questions about like, what's the next big thing we see in the technology? And my current answer is still, I actually don't care about what the next big technology is. I actually just care about getting the technology that is already here working properly. And all these companies that are buying laser scanners and drones and trying to create point clouds and trying to create BIM models from point clouds. I just want to help more companies get that process nailed down. Because there are so many projects in so many different industries that need that workflow. There are not enough people doing this right now that are really good at it to support the work that's going to grow in the next 5 and 10 years. We're starting to see more and more requirements for laser scanning and scan to BIM within big major construction projects. That wasn't there in the past. Like, it was optional. People started doing it because they saw the value in it, but it wasn't like an official request or mandated request. It was optional. Now certain industries are starting to get to the point that, oh, hey, you're doing a renovation on any XYZ project, and I'm not going to throw them out there, but whether it's a hotel or an airport or a high rise or there's a lot of those that are starting to become a requirement. Every project gets laser scanned, gets turned into a BIM model, gets pushed to BIM coordination. Like, there's certain things that are starting to become more commonplace there is a lot of work out there, and there's a lack of skilled providers. Yep. There's a lack of expertise. I know hundreds of companies in our industry that are doing laser scanning. They're all trying to hire, and there's no school out there teaching, and pushing out hundreds of people that know how to just step in a company and scan properly, integrate control, create reduced point clouds, do scan to BIM models. Like, this is a really specialized industry, and those of us in it don't really see it that way. I think we get used to the fact that we do it, and so to us it's kind of normal. We scan, we model.
Right.
But in comparison to the amount of projects and work out there, this is a pretty specialized thing. The other thing I'm actually starting to see a lot of is very large projects, very large multi-site, national, a lot of companies that get into this, they start local, right? They start implementing for companies around them. They're going and scanning for an architectural project down the street, and they got brought in on this renovation. So sometimes people look at just their local market and kind of apply that, which is fine. A lot of companies do really well staying local, but we've always kind of worked nationally. And as you start working with bigger and bigger companies, you realize there are a lot of industries, and there are hundreds of different major organizations that have thousands of projects around the country. There's no service provider that exists that can handle all that work.
Yeah.
So one of the best things we can do is continue to educate people, help businesses nail down these processes, grow their own divisions, people starting their own businesses. I know a lot of people that are jumping out of major companies and starting a service provider business because there's a lot of work out there, and it's just going to keep growing. So, I think we have a lot of plans, and we want to see a lot happen with the education center on RCN. Mm-hmm. We didn't talk about that a lot, but our goal right now is just continuing to put videos in that talk about different hardware, different software, getting into some like tips and tricks videos of how to integrate survey in XYZ software, or how to register scans this way, or, those things that there's really not a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
We want to create those types of things, but we're also going to end up, and this is the first time really talking about it or telling anybody, but we're actually going to end up having some courses as well to certify people on certain processes, because there are some processes, and I'm not going to get detailed into it right now because I don't want to give away all the secrets, but there are some processes that nobody can go learn. You can't go take a class and learn how to do certain things in our industry. It is from hands-on experience or from learning from somewhere else. And so one of our goals is creating some of those classes that people can actually, if you hire a new employee, instead of you training them for weeks on the job, trying, hey, send them to us. We're going to teach them how to do X, Y, Z. Spend this much time with us. Send them back. Huge head start for the hiring issue. So I think we've got some cool things. Those that are listening, apologize on some of our delays on certain efforts that we're putting forward. This all started as a side project, right? We didn't get hired at a company and just start a podcast. Like, we're building this because we believe in educating. We believe in building the community and helping people. But at the same time, it's, we have jobs. We run a business doing this as well. And so sometimes it's hard to hit these education and initiatives until we also get some traction, like the conference. Those that supported the conference, very helpful for us, because our goal with the conference isn't, making a bunch of money off the conference and just becoming a conference company. But by us starting to land and develop business relationships, partnerships, sponsorships, those funds we as RCN are starting to use to dedicate time and hire people and put toward educating and consulting and training and courses. So, sometimes we have so many initiatives going on, they're a little slower than we want, like the education piece and the courses piece, and we have a lot of development to do there. So it's gonna take some time, but I think over the next 2 years, as we do the conference, we keep getting more guests on the podcast, more education and awareness. I think we're gonna keep dedicating more and more time to it, and hopefully have a whole team just dedicated to it and really expand it. So excited about what is to come.
Definitely. So am I.
So we got our first couple guests coming in studio for the first few episodes here of season 2. We're going to be recording. I know many of you that are listening probably are on the list that have also applied of interest in being on. We're excited to get to all of you this year. We want to squeeze in a lot of interviews this year. We had quite a break over the last several months, honestly. Putting on the conference for the first time was a big effort. Yeah. You know, first time doing it, and did it all ourselves, and learned a lot. It was a lot of work, but you know, for different reasons, we hadn't done very many podcast episodes. But now that we got the studio up, we're good to go. We're going to start scheduling. So if you're interested, you're welcome to reach out. And those that are on the list, we have not forgotten about you. We're going to start doing some scheduling. So looking forward to season 2. Thanks again for listening. Phil, any last words?
No, I'm just I'm very excited for everything that we're doing, and I love what we do here. You know, since day one being hired here, it's been amazing, and I think that there's a power in having a podcast and getting information out there. One of the things that I've learned about myself is that I learn through listening, and having this platform to kind of break that fear of technology for a lot of people. I personally know that that's one of the hardest things jumping into anything new. And in technology, there's this fear that's based around hearing these words. Like when I remember you first telling me about a point cloud, you're like, it's a point cloud. And you said it very matter-of-factly, like, it's a point cloud. It is what it is. It's a cloud of points of data. And you explained it in such a way where I was like, well, now it makes sense. But not every term is direct like that. So having this platform, working on this, and then, you know, as we were at the conference, I had people coming up to me, hey, I remember, like, I recognize you. And you were in, you know, that first episode, and they were talking about, you know, I was so scared of this whole thing, and like hearing you guys talk about it, it just like eased that. And I've found that in different subjects and different topics that I've learned is that the best way is to just listen, get acclimated to all those new terms, and then get some experience with the tools and with the technology. And I don't know, I just feel very honored to be a part of it and to see that kind of return in person, talk with people and just see how it's affecting them. It's a magical thing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, you know, it kind of, it just makes me think of, you know, even as podcast guests, I kind of think about it the same way as I do, you know, building a business. Like, your goal is to hire and have people around you that are better at different things than you, right? And so even like the podcast, you know, sure, I've been doing reality capture for a long time, and you know, I don't brag, but I guess I'm okay at what I do. But at the same time, my goal is to bring on everybody that's better than me in every area I can find. Just like how you hire to have that team, that's the best way to educate and to learn. And so bringing people on and letting them talk about what they're really knowledgeable in, you know, I think it's a great way to educate ourselves, you know, as well as the people listening. So I think there's, like we said earlier, I think there's a lot of cross benefits to not only us as people hosting, but to the guests coming on, to the audience. And I think that's our goal. Everything we've been building, we are truly trying to add value to anybody we come in contact with.
Yeah. It also reminds me of something that was said in the conference is know what you don't know. And being honest with that and going into something and just being like, I don't know everything.
Yep.
I know I could talk your ear off about this, X, Y, and Z. But I don't know ABC. So where do I go and who do I surround myself with that can answer those questions?
Well, that's funny. That actually brings up a phone call I had yesterday with a client. And, you know, this is something that a lot of companies, when it comes to even laser scanning question, right? Like, a lot of businesses are going, do we use a consultant and they go out and do our scanning, or do we buy a scanner? You know, and this client was telling me, hey, you know, I used to do all this scanning for XYZ company, but they as a business decided because they can make revenue doing it, they went out and bought a scanner. But now they're messing up a lot of projects, and their initial reason for doing it was just they don't want to pay the money out. They just want to make it themselves. But a lot of times you have to realize there's a lot more that goes into it than just buying one piece of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that whole chain reaction that people don't think about sometimes, where sure, you can buy a scanner and you can scan, but you need to train people. You need to have people that are focused on that. You have to buy the computers to support it. You have to buy the software. And so just by trying to do something that you're not actually trained to do, you're trying to gather it just to capture some of the revenue. You have to really decide to either commit to that or be okay with the fact that that's not your expertise and let someone else do that. So that kind of reminded me of that conversation I had yesterday, because it's a lot to take on if you're not interested in really taking it on.
All right.
Season 2, kicking off.